Okay, International Linguistics Olympiad, sample problem number 5. Here we go. So we're going to Mexico. We have a language, okay, 10,000 people, small language. And we get information about reading the symbols. Colon for long vowel. It's supposed to be little triangles, but they're two little triangles, but they often just like put in the regular colon. But that's a long vowel. And this thing that sort of looks like a question mark, that's the glottal stop, the uh-oh sound. Okay. Usually those details don't make a difference, but yeah, I mean, and with a lot of these things, you can kind of treat them like they're just like mathematical symbols, like they just exist as symbols. And, you know, for a lot of these, you don't even have to get really particularly linguistic about it, but it can be helpful. So we look at that just to get some background about what this data set is going to look like. But now we go into here, the core data set, okay, is right here. And we have, these are what the IOL, they call them the Rosetta Stone style problems, because this is like a Rosetta Stone. Like imagine that you just like are trying to decipher this language and you don't know anything about this language, but you have an inscription that has this in this language translated to this in this language. Right? It's kind of funny to imagine, you know, that being an inscription, but it could be. So based on this, I mean, just based on the sentences in the Rosetta Stone, it was possible to decipher Egyptian hieroglyphs. And we can see the same thing here. Based on this, it would be possible to decipher at least this little corner of the Lalana Chinantec language. So yeah, the usual procedure here, right? You look for any piece you can identify, because once you get one piece, it just gives you clues to the next piece, and it's like this feedback loop, this cascade of solving, you know? So what are things you can look for? Well, you look at the English translations, usually an easier place to start. Hard to make much sense of the mystery language, often to begin with. But looking at the English, you know, we can look for some nice big juicy words, you know, words that are going to stand out, like words like the, you know, of course, and have, as in have turned out, like those little words, they might not appear in some clear way. But you look for big words like these big, like these nouns here, like corn and pineapples. So that stands out. And nouns really are they're the basic type of word, the most solid word category, and often a good place to start. So we look for the pattern here in the translations, and note that we have, out of 6 sentences, we have 4 sentences that talk about corn, and we have 2 sentences that talk about pineapples. So now we compare on the left. Is like there's something in each of those 2 pineapple sentences should have something that the corn sentences don't have, and vice versa. So here, let's see. Well, we have Milajo, okay, but this sentence is also about pineapples. It doesn't have Milajo. Okay, well, they both have mo. Okay, yes, they both have mo, and the other sentences do not have mo. So that's looking pretty good for pineapple. Now, it's true that you see they both also have kya, but you see this sentence also has kya, which is about corn. So, you know, when you match, like this matches pretty well, and then we can look for corn to balance it out, and look, this qui, or this I with a line through it is sort of like an I with your tongue a bit further back. So it's like kui. And we have these 4 lines for corn that have it, so that then that matches corn. And then, you know, we have mo. So this is looking pretty good, right? I think we can start to write, we can say mo is pineapple, and at least, you know, and I'm going to write it out just like in simple. I'm not going to use the phonetics here. I'm just going to use a shorthand. And we have this for corn. And, you know, you can always use this as like a working theory. You don't have to be 100% certain. You just need to have a working theory. And then if you get stuck later, you can go back and maybe see if you miss something. You can try a different working theory. But this looks like enough to get started. So already, after having this one piece, like it already opens up so much. Because now we know one word in each of these sentences. And so that's out of the way, and we can now try to figure out the remaining words. Okay, so if we look at the first sentence, you know, and if I don't have any better ideas, just look at the first sentence, you know, and go in order, but we can see that we have we have beautiful and grew. Okay, so like a word like the is not necessarily going to, in many languages, they don't even translate the word the in any clear way. It's like one of those called a function word or a grammatical word rather than a content word. And so that one, you know, who knows? But who knows if it's even going to be clearly in there. But we're saying the beautiful corn grew. So if you just imagine trying to make that make sense, you need to have you need to have corn, of course, you need to have beautiful, and you need to have grew. And you see 3 words here. We know this one's corn. So what do we see? Well, we can compare with another. If we're looking for beautiful, we can look for another word, another sentence that has beautiful. Ooh, well, we have a qui here. Okay, no, we already know what that is. We have kala kwa. Well, here we have kwa and kala ne, so those might be connected to kala kwa, but we don't have any absolute connection. And say, okay, li, oh, wait a minute, here it is, li here. Okay, this li, we see that this appears in number 1, and it appears in number 3. And those are the only 2 sentences that have beautiful or beautifully. And again, that's an example of a little difference that we have. Here we have the adjective form that describes the noun corn. Here we have the adverb form that describes the verb yellowed. But those can often be the same in many languages. So I think it's looking pretty good for li to equal beautiful. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. All right, and so if we have that, then we know that what's left over is kalakwa. We also know, because if this is going to be grew, like we know that this means grow, because if this means corn and this means beautiful, and we know that this is the total translation. So this sentence is like saying grow or grew the corn beautiful. So that gives us another clue here that we have in this language, we put the adjective after the noun. It's like corn beautiful instead of, like in English, it's beautiful corn. And that's something that's pretty even across the world's languages. It's kind of divided more or less down the middle, and you know, many languages would say beautiful corn, and many languages would say corn beautiful. And so that can give us a clue, you know, maybe here for tall corn. Tall corn would here be corn tall. And so, corn tall. Well, here's corn. So qua is probably tall. And because you think they have to kind of be together. You can't really put something else in between tall corn, like none of the things here. Because this is the verb phrase, you know, saying what the tall corn did. There is the issue of my. But my can't be qua because only this line has qua. See the other lines, well look, there's 3 lines that have my, and that's kya. Okay. So, and of course my tall corn they all likely have to go together because they're all describing the noun phrase. They're all together describing corn. It's tall and it's mine. And so based on the pattern, we see qua only here, but we see kya in these 3 lines, which all have my, the only lines with my. So that satisfies me that we have qua is tall and kya is my. So continuing to build out the dictionary, you see every word we get just gives us more words because now we're clearing things out. Okay, so tall corn yellowed beautifully. Well, it's like corn, tall, my, beautifully yellowed. Okay. Kalane. Interesting. Okay, so there might be a little bit of nuance here on the verbs because this does look surprisingly similar to what we see up here. Kalakwa. And also interesting that qua is in the verb grow, and it's also in this adjective tall. It's almost like you're growing tall. It's like there's a connection there. So there may be more to break down in these verbs. And look over here. These last 2 sentences are also very informative for us because you can see, like, we already know this is corn. And you can see it's the corn because there's no the anywhere. So this is the corn. This word has to represent whatever's left in the sentence. So, turned out well. This kalajo has to be turned out well. So let's try to make sense of this here. Kalajo, and just writing it in my shorthand here for the notes. Like, of course, it's nicer to do the full IPA, but that involves a lot of copying and pasting. So we have kalajo equals turned out well, and then we have milakwa in the last one. We have has grown. So here we can put these together because, like, has grown. Now that's interesting because we have in the first sentence, it looks like we have kalakwa must mean grew, and milakwa would be has grown. So, of course, that's also suggesting to us that qua, this qua root, is representing grow. And so we have this one word, we have qua, so it looks like it means tall, and it means grow as well. And then the verbs could be completed with these other points. And you see, like the path that I'm taking through this, like there's more than one way to go. And, but you just follow the pieces that you find. And if you get stuck, you kind of go back and like look for another piece. But there's lots of pieces jumping out here. And for every new piece you find, you look at that new piece and then you look at what it can tell you about other things here. Like here, if we have these verbs and then we have, if qua means grow, kala, and qua plus kala means grew. Well, the only difference between grow and grew is, of course, past tense. So we have grow plus past tense is grew. So it looks like kala means past tense. And we can then look at the other verbs here that have kala. And we see also for yellowed and ripened. So both of these sentences that have the kala verbs, they also have past tense translation. So that is, again, looking good. Okay, so we have kala is past. Okay, and so we have kalane is yellowed, and kalaro is ripened. Okay, so that means kala's past, and we can, yes, even, oh, and kalajo as well. Yes, so kalajo is turned out well. So now I think we can really break these pieces down. Oh, especially because if we take this one more piece here, we have milajo. Okay, so I'm going to put it next to here because putting the pieces that are connected next to each other makes them more clear to see. So here we have milajo is have turned out well. Okay. So now I think we have enough to break down these verbs clearly. And so this mila, you can see both of the mila, as you have, the haves are have form. This is called the present perfect aspect, which is when you say, like, I have done something. Okay, so here we could say mila is, you can call it present perfect, or you could call it have xed or something. You could, like, past could be like xed, and in general, like you don't need to actually like know the terminology like present perfect in order to solve the puzzle. You just need to see the pattern, and whatever label you put on the pattern is not essential. Okay, so now so that's going to be Mila, and then we can have Joe. So we can now simplify here. So Joe will be turn out well. Okay, that's going to be sort of the neutral form without past tense or the present perfect. And then qua becomes grow, right? And then we can remove these special combining forms. And then, well, that means we have kala ne, kala past. So that leaves ne for yellow, right? And then, of course, kala ro with kala as past. That leaves ro for ripen. Okay, now these verbs are very nicely broken down. Okay. So, let's see what we have missing here. Do we have a full dictionary for this language? We say kalakwa, past grow, corn, beautiful. Yes. Milajo has turned out well. Pineapples, my. Oh, also, yeah, interesting. I translated this as pineapple here, but it is here pineapples. Looks like we're not getting into counting. So corn looks like something that would not, it's sort of uncountable. It's just sort of a mass of corn. It's not like one corn, two corns. So that's just a mass, and the pineapples are being treated as a mass. And those are the only two nouns. Okay, so there's no issue of counting or singular plural. We only have this either plural or mass noun. Okay, so that's pineapples. Then in number 3, we have beautiful, past yellow, corn, tall my. Yep. So I'm like, I'm running through each of these pieces, and we've translated all of them, confirming that, and confirming that all the pieces line up to be, they combine to be all the information we need in order to get the meaning of this translated sentence. Okay, and then we have Joe. Oh. Okay, now here's an interesting thing. We just have this Joe. We have Joe as turn out well, but the translation is only ripened. There's no turned out well in the translation. So that's interesting And that suggests that, again, we have a little more subtlety in the verbs here. And that's something always to watch out for with these translation puzzles, is that, and it's a good lesson to learn about translation and linguistics in general. Like, words as we imagine them, clearly they don't always directly translate, and there can be different expressions and ways of saying things that don't exactly translate. And even you see here with like turn out well, like that's kind of like this combo expression with these three words that they just have like Joe. They just have like one word to say that. But it looks like ripen, the idea of ripen contains the idea. Oh, no. Okay, I was overthinking there. Yep, I overthought myself. I overthought the problem. And there's another thing that can often happen. It's like, I thought there has to be some kind of like unusual, subtle translation of the verb or something where like turn out well is going to be included. But it's right there in the word well. Okay, so what we translate as turn out well, it's also like just well. And so this is saying well, past ripe, so ripened, pineapples, yellow mine. Okay, oh yeah, so we got to complete that. Oh, and that's interesting that we already have yellow here as a verb, but it's also a noun. So yellow, you see like here, like the corn yellowed, so that's nay as a verb. But here it's yellow pineapples. And so the yellow here is in the adjective position to describe pineapples. So this same word ne can be both those things. Okay, and then, okay, so that's clear. All right, and then we have past turn out the corn. So we're past turn out well the corn. So the corn turned out well. And here we have has grown the corn. The corn has grown. So that's it. We have completed the translation. We have deciphered the Rosetta Stone, and we turn it into this dictionary, this miniature dictionary of the language. Right. So that's the main work of solving one of these translation problems or Rosetta Stone style problems. Right. And then we just now. Yeah, it's often a good idea to look through the questions first, just to get an idea of what's coming up. In this case, I didn't do that. I just jumped right into looking at the data set and solving it. It can be helpful just to give you some clues. But here we go. So what does the word Lee mean? Well, you just look at your dictionary. Okay. Row, ripen. Okay. Now we have translate sentences back. Okay, this is where, now you have to use your dictionary, but you also have to match the word order. And so what I like to do with sentences like this is you look for a template. A sentence here that's maybe as close as possible to what they're asking for, so that, and then you follow that as much as possible. You follow that template and only adjust it as needed. So here it's interesting. The good pineapples became beautiful. So we don't even have okay, so that's interesting that we don't have any word good here. And we don't have any sentence where it talks about became beautiful. So this is where we have to kind of stretch the idea of the meaning a little bit and imagine what fits best. So of course, for the idea of good, well, out of all these words, well, I just said it well. Out of all these words, like what's the closest meaning to good? Well, say, you're feeling good, you're feeling well, like doing it good, doing it well, like. So this well is really the closest you can get to the word good. Good is an adjective and well is usually an adverb, but both having very similar meanings of good. So I would, of course, if I had to pick something here, I would then use this Joe here. Okay, so we know Joe's going to be in the sentence, but now the order, well, let's see. So good pineapples. Well, we have pineapples, then are the mo. Okay, so now we know that in this language, they put the adjective after the noun. Put the noun first. So it's just like, you have like corn tall, pineapples yellow. Now it's pineapples good or pineapples well. Now how do we handle became beautiful? Well, all we have is that we don't have any word became or become here. We do have beautiful, and that's it. But we do see we have a parallel, and you're always looking for examples that are as close as possible to what they're asking for, so you get the clues of the parts of what's going on. And we have the example of ne, which can mean the adjective yellow, as in yellow pineapples, but it can also mean yellowed. Well, it's where you stretch beyond the literal word you're seeing into imagining the meaning. That's a big part of translation. You step outside the specific words and you think of the meaning behind them, right? So the word yellowed as a verb, of course, it means become yellow. So we can see that, you have this adjective yellow, and then you have become yellow, and they're both just the same. They're just ne here. So yellowed, and that's past, kalane. So we here can do the same thing with beautiful. So we get get kalali, so kala for past, and then we have li for beautiful. And where do we put it? Well, I'm going to put it first, because you see, following the same order, the verb here comes first. The verb comes first. So we can see here, like, li kalane kui kwa kya. We have the, so it's like yellowed, corn tall mai, or beautifully yellowed, corn tall mai. So here we have beautiful. Now we can't really say that, but I guess by analogy with like a verb like yellowed, you could say beautiful. And so you could say it's like saying beautiful pineapple's good. Beautiful pineapple's good. And that is how they would say sentence number one. Double check that all the meanings that are needed in that sentence. We have pineapples, good, becoming beautiful, past. All of those meanings are contained in the English sentence, the good pineapples became beautiful. And we see those same meanings contained in this Lalana Chinantec sentence, beautiful pineapples, good. And that order matches what we see in these other sentences. So that looks like a good sentence. I think we have some communication here. We can be understood by these speakers. Okay, so now this is number one. And now for number two, what do we have here? My ripe corn. Okay, well, notice following the same pattern where the things that are, they can be verbs or adjectives. It's like yellow and beautiful and also ripe. So here we have ripen as a verb, but we can use the same word as an adjective following the pattern of the other words like yellow and beautiful. So we have ripe, we have corn, so that's qui ro. Okay, so corn, ripe, and then mai. Okay, so that's, we have kya at the end, just like the other mais. And we know it's the same order. We have the noun, adjective, and then the determiner, which is like a word like mai. And that's the same order we see like in my tall corn, qui kwa kya. And now we have my ripe corn, qui ro kya. That's another way to approach this, is really just like, you're looking for my ripe corn. You see that this one has my tall corn, right? So you can really follow that example. Okay, and then we have has yellowed well. This one has the has in it, so it's not just the past tense. It's that mila. It's the mila one, and we know that goes before the noun. So yellowed is ne, so it's milane would be the my ripe corn. Or, pardon me, milane would be the has yellowed. The only piece missing is well. Okay, so that's we can see it's this one. It is jo. Okay, so we see that in number 3 here, yellowed beautifully. So this is an adverb that's describing the verb yellowed. Well, here well is an adverb that is describing the verb yellowed. So beautifully here appears at the beginning, before the verb. And so we can follow the same pattern. So yeah, really this whole sentence is quite similar to the pattern we see in sentence number 3 here. So now we can just put jo in here. Jo milane. Okay, so kalali mo jo and jo milane qui ro kya. There they are. Okay, now translating the other way. This is usually easier. Just have to watch out for any, watch out careful on the details, but we already have our dictionary. So ripen, mila, right? We have has ripened. So we have ripe. There's ripe plus the mila. Okay. And we know qui, of course, is our corn. Corn. Corne. Ah, well, this word ne, meaning yellow, is happening after the corn. It's corn yellow. In other words, yellow corn. And yeah, yellow corn has ripened. And just to follow the pattern we see everywhere else, they always put the in front of it for this. I mean, you could literally say yellow corn has ripened, but it seems all these sentences, they at least put the there. So we have the sentences, the yellow corn has ripened. Much easier to bring it into English than to go the other way. All right, so then number 4, and the very last step here, we have, well, li. Ooh, li at the beginning. Now you see li before the verb. So you can see a verb here. And we know li here, when it comes before the verb, this is the adverb, meaning beautifully. Okay, so we have beautifully. Kala kwa. Well, kwa is grow, kala is past. So that's grew. Grow for kwa, and past for kala. So that becomes growed. If we do follow that pattern, growed, which of course is grew. Grew beautifully. What grew beautifully? Nothing but qui, so that's the corn. Okay. And that's it. That's how you do it. So, it starts with looking like a whole bunch of random sounds, but you just break it down piece by piece. And once you make your dictionary, then you just use it to fill in the remaining blanks and solve the puzzle. So that is Lalana Chinantec.